Hey fighters, we are back with our next video of our push-up series. Dominic, I know, is ready to go. I've got my coffee, so I'm ready to go, especially because I just get to coach him and watch how awesome he is. I'm just kidding, I'll demonstrate here too. But today we are going to do some push-up variations specific to changing our actual hand, not hand position. Now, I do like to pre-frame all of these, that this is really great to develop your wrist, your forearm, your finger strength, your hand strength. But until you develop a certain amount of strength, we don't really want to push ourselves too much to make sure that we're not having any setbacks. So please do these ones with caution, always be appropriate with these. And then one other analogy I like to use when it comes to these is sometimes we focus on developing the big muscles of our body, the shoulders and arms and biceps and chest and whole body, which is great. We want to have not only, looking good, but also have functionality. When it comes to functionality, I don't know if there's anything more functional than having good, strong hands and feet positions, proper grip strength, things like that. To me, it's like the sports car that has tons of horsepower, except the wheels are bald and you don't have any traction, right? We want to make sure if we're using our body for power, whatever we're holding on to, whatever we're walking on, right, we have enough traction with our feet and hands. So one way we can develop that is we got a couple variations. This first one, we're going to actually have all the demonstration just from your knees, and I would encourage anybody even attempting these, start from your knees. We'll do a stationary position with these first, and then only if that feels good and you can hold it, I would say 15 to 20 seconds pretty solidly, would you actually go into a push-up that actually has movement to it. So the first one is we're gonna start working on developing our finger and hand strength by putting just your fingertips on the ground. And when you do this one, we're thinking dome shape of your hand, not dropping your knuckles down and lifting your hand. So you want to strengthen your fingers enough that's like you're gripping a basketball and pressing those fingers to the ground. And the first thing that we're doing is just, can you hold this? What does this feel like? And you can see by how his knuckles are changing colors, there's some good amount of pressure going through that. If that feels pretty good for him, then the next thing I'd recommend is pull his knees farther away to get more weight into that hands. If that feels good, then he would go to his toes. And only if he can hang out here for a solid 15, 20 seconds without anything hurting or breaking down, would he add that push-up to this position. Nice work. You can relax right there. Once you get good at that, we can actually go less fingers all the way down. Bruce Lee had the famous 1 or 2 finger push-up. I'm not going to recommend that for anybody, but it is pretty neat that once we get strong enough here, we can start dropping to less fingers and actually doing our push-up. I told you I was going to do some push-ups. All right, so our next variation is really more for wrist development, and especially because we are lifelong martial artists, we understand how to align our fist with our wrist for a punch. So for this one, if you just get ready for a punch, we want to have a little understanding of your fist. Right? Obviously, we have our 4 fingers, we have our thumb, right? But when we start looking at throwing a punch, the impact point are going to be these 2 knuckles that are closest to the thumb side. These 2 fingers we're not making impact with. Those fingers are actually like your grip fingers. When you hold something heavy, you'll notice those are the fingers that can actually clasp on the hardest. But for us developing our wrist, we're going to think about the impact of these knuckles aligned with the wrist. You can see how flat this is, and aligned with that wrist. We're going to keep that position in that push-up. And that's the first thing we want to do is just feel it. And you can see how there's some space between those last 2 knuckles and those first 2 knuckles. We want to make sure our wrists don't collapse out. We're keeping the tension in those 2 knuckles. Good. And then if that feels okay, he's pulling his knees back just a hair more. If that feels good, he can either go to his toes or actually try a push-up from that position. If we did one more and we relax and come up, way to find out if you did it the right way is your knuckles that you had pressure on should be the ones that are changing colors, not the ones that shouldn't be on the ground. The last push-up that I want to give you as far as developing our hands, wrists, is working on your wrist through a flexed wrist position. This one is, to me, the one that it is hardest to do, and you only want to do if you have the prerequisites of having good wrist mobility, plus you have the prerequisites of the fingertip and fist position push-ups, right? Only if those are there would you want to attempt something like this. And this would literally be, I fold my wrist in, palms to me, I'm having little bit, go to the end range of my motion, and then I'm actually working on doing push-ups from this position. Again, only do those if you know you've got enough mobility and strength to handle that type of position there. Have some fun with those and be careful.